man, am I doing the best job I can and watching others teach and allowing them to do things and trying not to get stuck in the this is comfortable
Okay.
mindset.
Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters podcast, the ultimate resource for ambitious, hardworking school owners that want to get their business and their life to the next level. My name is Dave Kovar. I'm a lifetime martial artist, business owner, speaker, and author. My goal is to empower listeners with the knowledge and the tools they need to break through barriers and really get their business and their life to the next level. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Welcome to Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kovar, and with me today is Shion Chad Shepard. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
All
Doing great,
right.
sir. How about yourself? Doing good?
Good, man. Good. So Shion Chad and I go back 30 years, I think. Sounds about
Yeah.
right.
So like 1995.
Wow,
So
that's almost crazy. It's crazy.
yeah.
So Shion Shepard runs our Lead Hill location and active count there, like low fours. What's our active count right now?
430 today.
Incredible. Incredible. You got to do so much right to have 430 members in your location. And that's legit. By the way, that's a legitimate number, guys. That's like we're pretty serious about keeping our stats really well. And what I thought I wanted to do in this call is that because you actually started that school like 20 years ago, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
you've been like week in, week out, month in, month out in the trenches. You're what we call QQS, quality, quantity, spirit, is like right on. You have good quality students. You have a lot of them, and the energy level is great. And so I wanted to kind of pick your brain on the people that are listening are professional martial artists, school owners, what they can do to kind of get their active count up. But I want to start out by a quick little background. You came to us as already black belt. And tell us a little bit about your early martial arts training and maybe your wrestling as a kid, kind of a
Yeah.
little history.
So if I go all the way back, I grew up wrestling and boxing. My dad was a college wrestling coach. That's what he did for a living when he was young. He was a wrestler. He was like 96, 6-1 was his
Wow.
wrestling record. So he was a really good wrestler. And he was a small guy and he wanted to make sure that his kids never got picked on like he did when he was growing up. So he kind of decided to make me a fighter from the jump, from like day one. So I was in a wrestling camp when I was like 3 years old. So that was kind of my bread and butter when I was young. And then always loved martial arts. Enter the Dragon was like, I was 7 years old. I saw Enter the Dragon. I was like, that's what I want to do. That stuff is amazing. Couldn't afford it or whatever, who knows what. But I was never able to get into the martial arts until I joined the Marine Corps in 1990 is when I found hand-to-hand combat training. And I was like, wow, this is really cool stuff. And then when I was on ship for a 10-month overseas pump, there was a black belt on board in Taekwondo. He was doing forms up on the flight deck.
Okay.
And I was like, hey man, can I learn some of that stuff? And he's like, yeah. So, we were there, we were out to sea sometimes months at a time. So I was just repping these forms over and over and over and over and over and over. And then when I got out of the service, I wanted to pursue it. So I was back in Colorado. My dad's best friend happened to be a Taekwondo school owner at the time. He was a
Okay.
deputy sheriff full time and ran a part time dojo out of a YMCA. And I said, hey, I want to do Taekwondo. Tell me what I need to do. He's all, well, show me what you know. So I showed him all my forms. And he's like, wow, okay. Like you pretty much have all of your black belt stuff like down. So we went over some self-defense stuff that I learned. And it wasn't too long before he had given me my black belt in Taekwondo. And then shortly after that, decided he wanted to retire, didn't want to do it anymore, gifted me my second degree, and then bounced and said, the school is yours. And I had no idea what I was doing, none
Mhm.
whatsoever. And it was only a matter of time before I screwed it all up and didn't have any students. So I didn't do it right. And that was about 1995 when I moved back.
Okay. And so I know you started at the because my first memory of you was going out. You're at the Granite Bay School, and you were like with Langley, and I remember watching you like spar when they go, oh, that guy's got some skills, yeah. And that was and then I think so over you start training with us, and then you were working like real estate by day
Yeah.
and teaching for us a little bit. And then what was it, like 2004 or five when we opened up the Lead Hill location?
Yeah. So it was 2003 was when we hired me on board. And then it was
Okay.
shortly after that in 2004 that we opened up the Roseville school.
Yeah, that was one of our first schools, maybe the first school when we started our expansion. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, so you've been doing this forever. What I wanted to do is I wanted to, you're obviously in our organization, highly esteemed, and we it's often like if you want to watch somebody teach a class, you watch him teach. Have somebody watch Chad Shepard teach a class because he does it right. He does so many good things, and one of the things that you've done such a great job with is that, little Sam's, 4 and 5 year olds, juniors, teens, and also you have a pretty rocking adult program as well. So what I kind of wanted to kind of start with is that just kind of how do you how do you keep yourself kind of on track? I know you got a great team that you've developed, but how do you kind of keep
Yeah.
yourself kind of and certainly burnout occurs, but how do you keep yourself kind of the fire going when it comes to teaching?
For me, I think it's just constantly trying to learn something, right? Is always trying to put my head out there and figure out, man, am I doing the best job I can, and watching others teach and allowing them to do things, and trying not to get stuck in the this is comfortable
Okay.
mindset, right?
Okay.
Where it's like, okay, wait a minute, I'm looking at the class. Am I doing the same thing over and over again? Like, is it become monotonous? And if I start to feel like I can do it in my sleep, I feel like that's not right. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like,
Sure.
if I get too comfortable, I'm not doing something right. So I should be a little uncomfortable, try a drill different, do something different. Look at the kids. Are they, that the concept that we use all the time, the SSL,
Hmm.
right? I just had a conversation with one of my new instructors yesterday about this. And she's like, how was my
Talk
class?
everybody through it, just by the way, because some people might not
So
be aware of what that is.
smiling, sweating, learning. So I have to ask myself that question at the end of every single class. It's like, were they smiling? Were they sweating? And were they learning? And I feel like the learning is kind of a given. Like, they're here, that's what they're doing, right? We're teaching, they're learning something.
Hmm.
But are they smiling and are they sweating? And usually those two, to me, those two go hand in hand.
Hmm.
Like, if they're sweating, they're probably smiling. And if they're smiling, it's because they're sweating.
If we're doing it right, if we're doing
Right.
it right, we could be
Yeah.
silly, right? But yeah, if
Sure.
you're doing it right, absolutely. And I never really thought about, yeah, if they're smiling, sweating, they're probably learning as well. It's a great point.
So I just told her, I said, listen, how were they doing all those things? She's like, yeah. I said, then it was probably a really good class. And you don't have to me, it's like, you don't have to beat yourself up every class. Like, could I have done anything better that class? Like, you can always find something you could have done a little bit better
Hmm.
every class.
Hmm.
But I think it's if you start to get like, you go a period of time where things start to feel monotonous. Like, if I feel bored, my kids are bored.
Hmm. Yep.
100%. So I try to kind of keep a gauge on myself all the time. And then I also try to step away from the classes now that I've got, a good staff,
Sure.
and watch what they're doing and see, do I like that drill? Could I make it different? Could I do something with it? What are they really doing that's keeping kids engaged? What would I do different? What can I
Well,
steal? So,
so one of the things that's really important because you have this, like rock solid team that you really trained. It allows you to be at your best because you don't have to teach bell to bell. You don't have to be the sole proprietor of the energy of the room. So
mhm.
you know what I'm saying? I'm watching some of our younger instructors that are newer to this, and they don't have a lot of help. And like you're teaching, like 6 classes a night pretty much by yourself. It friggin' kills you, right? It's
Yeah.
hard. It's that yeah. And so your ability to have these guys what have some skills, and then you're able to kind of fine tune their skills, and also you kind of catch your breath. So when you step on the floor, you're rocking as well. Yep. So next question is when it comes to teaching, how are you? Because one of the things that you do so well is kids are having fun, but it's pretty disciplined. How have you created that environment to where you walk in, it's pretty structured. Kids aren't screwing around. They're smiling, but if there's difference between having fun and being funny. They're having fun, but they're not necessarily being goofy.
Right.
How do you arrange for that?
You know, I think part of it is that I kind of have like my demeanor in general. I mean, clearly, like, I'm all tatted up, right? And I have a look on my face that's
Sure,
kind
you're
of
an
stern
intimidating looking
already.
guy, no doubt about it.
And I know that about myself. So
Hmm.
to just look at me, it's like, okay, I don't know about this guy. And I know the kids feel that way immediately. So then when they see that I can have fun, they're like, oh wow, wait, he's fun, he's cool. But as soon as I like bring it back, like, just everything comes back, like, uh-oh,
Hmm.
like, oh, dad's, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
how like when you played with your dad, you could play with your dad, and then if he all of a sudden was like stern with you, you like knew it. Like he didn't have
Yep.
to say anything. You just knew, uh-oh,
Yep.
it's time to step in line, right? I think I try to captivate that with all
Hmm.
of my kids. Like I
Hmm.
try to have a real personal connection with every single kid in some small way, so that when I do come down on them, or if I say, hey, you need to pay attention, you need to focus, they realize that it's because I care, not because
Hmm.
I'm trying to be a jerk, or I'm trying to like, you know, push my power, my authority on them. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It just has to do with, I care. I want you to be better.
Well, you know what? We know that like analogy that I'll give when I'm doing like an instructor college is how many guys ever had a teacher in school that you didn't like? Did you try harder for them? The answer is no, I didn't. Well, so do you have a teacher at school that you liked? Yeah. Did you try harder for them? Well, so in martial arts, it begins and ends with respect, which is important. I think our students need to respect us, but they also need to like. It really helps when they like us, and I think that
It
that's what you've
does.
done a great job. Is that because you sincerely like your students, and it shows up, and so you're able to have a good time with them. They know that you like and respect them, so they're going to step it up when when they're asked to. So talk to me about teens because you have a pretty strong teen clientele there. So what is unique about that? If let's just say I'm a new instructor, I've never really had a group of teens and I have a bunch show up and it's got its own unique challenges. What would you tell me?
Treat them like teens.
Okay.
I mean, I know that seems really basic, but it's like sometimes we treat the teenagers either too young
Okay.
or ask too much of them like they're an adult, and they're
Okay.
neither one. They're not an 11-year-old child, but they're also not a 20 some odd year old adult, right? So there is definitely a difference in that gap, and sometimes they end up getting shoved into one of those two gaps when
Right.
that's not what they are. They're here. They're not on either side.
Right.
They're right here, and you've got to try to relate to them in that way, in not just relate to them, but allow them to relate to each other. Give them an
Mhm.
opportunity to talk to each other, have time to actually spend time together and interact. Not just you're my partner and we're doing martial arts, but we're on the mat talking about, I don't know, music or food or your day in general, or just giving them that opportunity. Whether you can do it in class, we do it in class. We try to create that opportunity a little bit while they're in class to just enjoy each other's company. We allow them to be teenagers a
Mhm.
little bit. We don't crack the whip real hard on them. We don't let them mess around and be
Yeah,
dangerous or
but there's
anything.
times in class where
But
it's a little
yeah,
more casual, and there's times where everybody's lined up in a perfect attention stance. But during that casual part, they're able to interact a little bit. It's so important because, you know, kids need everybody, but especially that age, man, junior high, high school, they need a tribe. They need someplace to belong. And I know for me, it was the martial arts school. That was my spot, right? And if
yep,
and I, our ability to kind of let them what have that time with other teens, so that's their place. And I know that several of the schools, and I don't know if you've done one recently, but I know Madison just had a teen event camp last week. They had 20 people show up, and they just hung out for 3 hours. And the more we can keep that bond strong amongst them, they're more likely to show up on a regular basis.
exactly. We do have them. I feel like we had one scheduled for December 15th, I think is when our next one is, but I can't remember for 100%. But I do know that we try to schedule them relatively regularly because they do like to just come in and hang out and enjoy each other's company. But yeah, allowing them that opportunity a little bit in class. I think sometimes in martial arts we get so, I mean, let's think about it for a minute. And this goes not just with teens, this goes with every class for the most part, right? They come into class, they get there, they bow in, they go to their spot wherever you do your bow ins. You put them in a line to do wave masters. You tell them to stand in attention stands, facing the bag, not talking to anybody, staying focused. Like they just spent, what, 30, 40, an hour, however long your classes are, literally with a group of people and said nothing to anyone.
I
That is
think
such a mistake. Such a mistake.
You brought this up in a staff training about a year ago or something like that. And I think that it's such an important point. Now, also, we're teaching structure and discipline and all the stuff that we know, but we gotta, it's a matter of fact, one of the tenets for retention we talk about is encourage socialization. But if you never get them a chance to talk to their partner, when are they socializing, right? They could do before and after class. No, I think it's a good point. And kids need that sandlot time that most of them don't have now. Everything's so friggin' scheduled for them. You know what I mean? Like everything, and just time just to kind of hang out. As a matter of fact, I know that a lot of the camps now are being a little bit more less formal for this reason. Some of the camps that we're doing are just kind of letting them be kids, right? Not
Yep.
having to have the structure every moment because, you put 4 or 5 kids together with no supervision and I mean, there's an adult in the corner somewhere. They're going to come up with a game, and they're going to come up with their own rules, and they're going to figure it out. And that's important for them to
It
do.
is.
You
It
know,
is.
that's how you learn how to get along. You put kids, six kids in a room with a stick and a flat basketball, and they'll come up with some game, and they'll figure out what the rules are, and they'll have fun with it if we give them that a chance. But now it's harder for them to do.
Hmm.
So what about switching gears? So we talked a little bit about the younger kids. What do you feel like the average like adult is looking for now in a martial arts school? What can we do to grow that adult program?
For me, I think it's that they're looking for a way to stay in shape that's fun, right? Going to the gym is boring. It's monotonous. It feels good. We both go to the gym. You and I both do it because we know that we have to. But do we really do it because it's fun? My guess
No.
is probably not. Like I don't have a great time doing it. It's not like woohoo.
I
But
love being done, but yeah, it's like
yeah,
I'm
but
glad
the
I do it,
martial
but
arts,
yeah.
a lot of I'd say the majority of people, there's a small percentage of people that are like, I'll say you and I, just for the sake of this conversation, that we love the martial arts and we do it. It's something we're passionate about it, but we also understand, listen, I got to work out in order for my body to function the way that I need it to in the martial arts.
Yep.
That's a small group. The majority, I think, of people are using martial arts as their fitness. They're not doing anything else. This is their opportunity to get fitness. So we've got to make sure that they're getting a really good workout. Like the harder I make my adults work, the more they want to come back. Like they want to sweat. They want to get their butt kicked every
Mhm.
time they come in. So, and then to me, it's helping making them feel like what they're doing is real life. And this is no blast on like traditional martial arts or anything like that, because it's got a place. But I think that a lot of like adults are looking for, does this really, is this going to benefit me to be able to take care of my family? It's why
Mhm.
so many people they gravitate towards like a Krav Maga or an MMA or something like that. And not so much MMA, because usually when people get hit in the face for the first time, they usually don't want to do MMA
Yep,
anymore.
exactly. Yep.
But if they're hitting bags and
Yep.
they feel like they're doing something, like I'm getting tough. And that's what they like to feel, because now there's a confidence that's built. So
I heard someone say it. I love it. One of the cons, you want to grow your adult program, if it's a striking program, uh, look tough, teach people to look tough, hit tough, but nobody gets hurt. Keep it safe, because it's so true, man. That's why the difference between a fitness kickboxing class and then like, okay, sparring class, right? It's totally different. Uh, uh,
yeah.
and so also that's of course I see it. That's why our jujitsu program is growing with adults, because that's also there's not as much rote memorization. It's a good workout, and a lot of people can see the application of the function of it.
Hmm.
So let's just say I'm a brand new martial arts instructor, and I'm stepping out on the floor. I don't have a lot of experience, and you're to give me some pointers. What would you tell me?
Record yourself.
Record yourself.
Yep. Put yourself on camera and just record it. Put the camera somewhere where you don't know that it's there, so you don't see it, because otherwise it becomes this focus and gets
Hmm.
inside your brain. But record yourself teaching a class and then watch that video back and see, would you take class from that guy or girl or whatever.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was working with somebody, a candidate that was going to be supposed to be testing next week. I didn't pass them, so they're not gonna. But and I told them I want you to film your performing and watch, and you'll get it. Anyway, but that's great advice, man. As a matter of fact, someone sent me a video of a presentation I did a month or so ago, and I watched about 5 minutes. That's all I could watch. It was like, oh, do I say that? I have all this stuff. It's like, really? Do I? It's like, yeah, the camera doesn't lie, man. Yep, yep, very
No,
cool.
unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't, because I know that was a big thing for me. Is I When I first started teaching, when I was helping out at Granite Bay, I set a camera off and recorded myself. And man, I thought I killed this class. I was like, dude, that was awesome. I'm a good instructor. And I went back to and watched the video, and I was like mortified at my language patterns, at the way that I gave information, just everything to me made me cringe.
Good,
And I
great
was like,
advice.
whoosh. So,
Uh,
and do it often.
so I want to share one. I want you to share one last story, and I've used this example. You sharing this with me years ago, and I hopefully you remember the story. If not, I'm going to tell you your story, but hopefully you remember it. You had a kid that was misbehaving, and or no, wasn't misbehaving. It was not putting any energy into class, and you were really frustrated. with yourself for not being a better instructor, and you thought you did this doing it, you know, like, and then after class, the dad came up and thanked you for being patient. Do you remember that story at all? Do you remember that?
I do. I'm trying to remember the child.
So while you're remembering, and I want you to give you some commentary on it. So this is because I've shared the story because it was such a impactful story for me when you shared this, is because like you, yeah, I consider myself, I know hopefully you consider yourself a good instructor because you are, and I believe I'm a good instructor. And when kids misbehave during my class, I'm mad at myself for not being able to, what's wrong with me? I thought I was a good instructor. Why can't I control these guys? And you were sharing that this one kid is not participating, is really shy, and you're going to go after class, you're going to go apologize to the dad, like, sorry, and he comes up and says, thank you so much for being patient with my son. That was amazing. No one's ever been so patient before. And the takeaway for me was parents on the sidelines, when they're watching this squirrely kid, they're not probably thinking, what's wrong with that teacher? They can't control that kid better. They're going, wow, look how patient that teacher is with my child. And that was the takeaway. So it was really powerful. Any thoughts on that?
We just had to happen again because clearly it's funny to me as a martial artist that we put out there that we can help kids that aren't focused and that have trouble being, respectful. And, these are all the things that we say that we're good at. And then we're surprised when we get a kid that's challenging and hard to deal with. We're like, what is he doing here? It's like, duh, this is what we say we're good at. Right.
Yep.
But we have one that's that way. That's very, very challenging. And in this society where we're getting more and more of it, there's a lot of kids that have behavioral issues. There's a lot of health issues that are going on. There's, autism is just huge right now because of the foods that we're eating, but that's a whole nother subject. Anyway, they're having trouble focusing, and we have one that's the same way. We're all of us instructors are pulling our hair out thinking, God, what can we do? How can we help this child? And on the intent to promote letter that the parents signed out is their favorite part of our program is how patient the instructors are with my child, because I know he can be difficult. It's like, wow, okay.
Yep.
This is, because they don't get that patience anywhere else. Most people are like, I'm done. I've got 20 other kids I got to deal with. I'm done. They don't get that. So when they see an instructor spending that little extra time with their child to help get it, even if they don't get it, and you spent that extra time being patient and trying to help and working with them, they see that.
No, man, it's massive. And it's such an important skill to be able to develop. And that is just to have empathy for where the kid is and the challenges that the parents have. And Grandmaster Junior used to call it never ending correction with a smile until habit is formed correctly. Just like continuously be patient. Easy to say, hard to do, but worthy of the challenge.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, very cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to
of course.
On the show. It's like I was telling guys before we were on, we usually see each other once or twice a week, and both of us been busy. I've been on the road and missed. Anyway, we haven't seen each other. So see you on Zoom, right? That's what it takes. I haven't seen you before. All right, man. Hopefully I'll see you next week. Have an incredibly great weekend, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right,
you guys have a good one.
All right,
bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in today to our podcast. I hope you found it valuable and inspirational. To stay connected, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, please give us a 5-star review. And we really sincerely would appreciate some feedback. Your feedback helps us to create high quality content that will help others in the future. If you'd like to follow me, you can go to Dave Kovar on Facebook or Haunchi Dave Kovar on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on next episode.